Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with some of my key esteemed colleagues.
Brian.
Ted. Nate.
And today we're going to be talking about multi-classing. We each came up with a concept and an idea. Exile72 had left in a comment on one of our videos that he would like us to basically come up with a multi-class concept and build up to like level 10. And he was just curious how we would do it and what we'd come up with.
And this is multi-classing in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Correct.
Right. Because other editions, a little easier. It's a little more difficult here, like the way, your stat bumps or feats being tied to your specific class levels. That definitely makes it a little more tricky.
In 2nd edition, multi-classing was more,
it was a pain in the ass.
It was a pain in the ass, but the actual power level of what you got was kind of ridiculous, because it's like, okay, you're putting XP into each class at the same time. Nate and I were talking about this previously, that I had a guy who was 20th level, and he had a guy who was like 18, 17, 17, and the stuff he could do would just so far and away outstrip my character that multi-classing was clearly the way to go.
Well, I don't think that was the problem. The problem was in early editions, you were playing a fighter, and everyone knows that Gary Gygax hates fighters and warrior classes and loves mages.
And he wants you to die.
And it looks like a chump.
And suck, yeah.
Except for the early levels. Then he wants to punish the mages and the clerics and everything.
Yeah. So then you move into 3rd edition, where you're putting XP into one class at a time, and essentially you level up because everyone has the same XP budget now.
Yeah, the character level and a class level.
Right. So that made it very easy. When you leveled up, you just picked one class, and that's what you were leveling.
But that was also problematic. There was other perils that were wrought throughout that system.
Then you move into 4th, where it was basically just, well, I'm just going to splash a little bit of flavor onto my character by multi-classing, and you just essentially chose, I'm going to not use this class's action, and I'm going to use this one from this multi-class instead.
Well, do we want to talk, because you didn't really delve into the problem of 3rd edition, was basically you only needed like 1 or 2 levels of everything, and you got all the awesome stuff of those. So you could just
front load.
You loot the class, move on to the next class, loot that class, and then it's just like
you're like a Viking pillaging classes.
Yeah, that's right.
You could do that. I mean, I actually at one point in time built I made a 13th level character, and he had all the core classes.
One rage, take a level barbarian.
But he sucked because it went you had all the first level abilities, but it didn't really compare to a 13th level character that, worked with one thing or 2 things.
I don't know. I think it depends.
There's something, depending on what your mix is.
Ranger,
Paladin, dude, with the charisma to saves.
Right, but I mean, if you kept going, if you kept pillaging classes, it eventually hit a drawback. You had to stick to a concept and stick to things that would improve that concept. There was a lot of things that would not add to
anything that was not a caster,
and the ones that are feat centric, were really huge, because you could pick up 2 or 3 feats for 1 or 2 levels.
Right. So then we move into 5th edition, where we now have a whole new dynamic to look at. You still have a character level, but there is no character level chart that gives you bonuses and abilities.
There is, but it only affects one thing in the game.
Your proficiency bonus.
But
it's not like your stat bumps or feats, which are now one and the same ability, aren't linked to your character level. You have to get them.
Although there is one interesting place where that changes. Cantrips. I believe cantrips are based off your character level and not your caster level.
Really?
So they keep scaling even if you only take like 1 level of wizard.
Oh, you mean the actual damage die?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, because otherwise it'd be so obsolete.
A completely useless ability later.
Yeah.
So, let's actually break down. Let's first go across. Say what we all built. I made a fighter paladin. I went human noble with the knight variant.
I come to you guys with the Exile, sorcerer druid, human outlander.
You had to all one of us with having a name.
Yeah.
Heaven.
Yeah, I built a half elf Paladin 6, Warlock 4. So Paladin on the one hand, he's lawful good. Warlock on the other, I took the Fiend Pact. So I'll get into that in a little bit.
And what did you make, Nate?
Oh, you already said yours.
I did.
I'm like waiting to go on a line.
Nope.
No, I broke that line.
I had a fighter cleric, Tempest cleric, and I played him in the one-shot meat grinder, and I can't remember his first name, but it's Tesla's son. It was his last name.
Tesla. He's got some Tesla in there.
He was he's like a seafaring Viking that eventually turned into like nomadic wanderers.
Did you go with the sailor background?
I didn't because his ancestors were sailors. He's like a Viking that turned into a nomad. They're chasing the Great Storm.
So is that Outlander?
Yes.
Okay.
Which really is a nice background.
It is a nice background.
It's a good
like
background all around.
A lot of the backgrounds really, offer a lot of meat.
And for the one shot, I did just straight 7th level because that's what it was for Tempest Cleric. But when I reskinned him as a multi-class character, I wanted him to have a little more fighting oomph. So I actually took 6 levels in fighter and then basically I was just going to continue on past 10th with Tempest Cleric level. So he's only weak caster, but like headed in that direction. So probably like 2 levels in fighter for every 1 level in cleric I was taking. Until I get to the 6 for fighter, gets you to the extra attack and the extra bump, and
Nice.
And then going with cleric the rest of the way.
Well, I using fighter, I kind of had that feel as well. I made a human noble. His kind of backstory was like he knew how to fight, but he wasn't doing anything worthwhile for his house. So he pretty much using the knight variant, he took his squire and pretty much left, and after just fighting for a little while, he comes upon this person who convinces him that there might be a higher calling, and he starts down the path of paladin, bringing justice and honor and whatnot.
Law to the lawless.
Basically.
Oh wait a minute, that's a mental stretch.
I was gonna go with something with like the American way.
So the concept here was I took 6 levels of fighter to get to that second stat bump, and added the 4 levels of paladin. He stays fight all the way. By choosing fighter and paladin, he winds up getting multiple multiple fighting style choices. By being human, he gets essentially access to 4 stat bumps or feats, however he chooses to do it. I went with Heavy Armor Master and Great Weapon Fighter. I seriously considered Savage Attacker to get the serious hurt on the damage, but chose that I'd rather have, because I didn't roll anything. I went with a basic stat array and just the given hit points of 6 per level, just so that it wasn't any randomness involved. This character could be played by anyone using the right out of the book. So he actually winds up with a decent strength, 18 strength, 14 con, 17 charisma. So there's a lot to actually work with here, and then he's just got a ton of combat abilities. I know we talked about this off camera about what archetype he should go for fighter. I chose champion solely for the added combat, and the name champion sounds more paladin-y. But you were suggesting that if I went with the Eldritch Knight, that would give him access to even more smite. So there's the seesaw effect of which way to actually go with it.
Well, that being said, though, I guess because you didn't go with you didn't multi-class with a spellcasting class, so I think, does your spellcasting work the same where it's just your level, or do you still have to take the half a level?
With Paladin, he would just get the spellcasting levels. If I went with Eldritch Knight, they would kind of have to
stack, so then it would be half and a third.
Right.
Right, so you probably get more spellcasting ability actually by not having
Eldritch Knight?
By not having Eldritch Knight. Because what do you use, 6 level fighter?
Yeah.
So that would be 2 spellcasting levels. And what level? And so you're a 4th level paladin. That would give you 2. So that would bring you to 4, which is where you are right now. So it would actually be exactly the same but you'd have more variety.
More spell access, and would I have more cantrips?
Yeah, you would have the more cantrips.
Okay. So, is that worth the improved critical?
Well, but I also like the Eldritch Knight's ability to summon 2 weapons, up to 2 weapons that he's bonded with.
I didn't talk about my feats or anything with my guy, but we can get that back to him, I guess.
So, who wants to bring up their character next?
So yeah, I went with a sort of Smitatron paladin. The idea being that because of the way the multi-classing works with the warlock just gets 2 spell slots back every short rest. Yeah, so as long as you have an hour to spend after every combat, that means you kind of get 2 free smites every single combat that you're guaranteed to get.
The warlock is also not going to be affected by the multi-class because they just have 2 spell slots.
Right, because Pact Magic is different from spellcasting as
Correct.
anything else stacks. So it's kind of outside of their paladin levels. But what that means is you get 2 smites that will recharge after every short rest.
Yes.
So you basically
at second level.
At second level. So that's
slots.
So that's what 2d8, right? Or
yeah 2d8.
So it's you got 2d8 to burn. So you're not smiting as hard, but you can do it more consistently. And then and this guy, like, there's the smite variation I've made, but I could also see going much more castery with him. But for the smite version, I did take a couple of feats. I took Savage Attacker and Great Weapon Master, and then also for Paladin, I went the route of the Great Weapon Fighter with a Greatsword. So that means his average damage is going to be way up because he gets the reroll.
The Great Weapon Master allows, or the Great Weapon fighting style allows you to reroll your 1s and 2s.
Right, with the Greatsword, so your average damage output is super nice. Then the Savage Attacker feat is you get to roll 2 sets of weapon die and choose the higher one once per round. So you're going to add, and then if you get a 1 or 2 in there, you get to reroll those.
Yep.
So your sets of dice are going to just be higher in general. And then Great Weapon Master. You can take a -5 to get a +10 on damage. So, when you use the Paladin's channel ability, I went the Oath of Devotion. So he's got a 16 charisma for a +3. So he's only at a net of the -2 from using the Great Weapon Master when he's channeling.
Wait a minute. Did you say you took Savage Attack?
Savage Attacker.
Which lets you have advantage?
No.
You get to roll damage twice.
You get to roll damage twice. There's nothing that gives me advantage.
Once a round, you can roll your damage and then roll damage a second time.
I'm thinking of the Reckless Attack feature,
And then you choose the better of the 2 damage totals, and that's the one you actually deal.
Right. So you get to stack that +10 on your damage on dice is going to be pretty high. You're going to be smiting, so you're getting extra damage dice. And then I also took the Pact of the Fiend, which is going to if you drop that guy, you're gonna go get more hit points back. My oath, I took the Fiendish Vigor, which means pretty much going into every single combat, you're gonna have temporary hit points because you get to drop False Life on yourself going into every single encounter.
Oh, your invocation.
Yeah, for the invocations.
That's a good build.
Yeah. So it's pretty solid, and to actually give it some fluff. I mean, background-wise, I went Entertainer, but actually what I was thinking more so is he's a barrister, like an old-timey lawyer. And the way he got his Warlock Pact is he tricked a fiend, or he lawyered a fiend into binding to him, to giving him power. So he's like an agent of good that exploited a contract or a loophole with a devil, and he's got an imp.
We were talking about this, and I was like, you should so give him a musical instrument. It should be a fiddle.
I did take the fiddle under the Entertainer, but all this sort of charisma-y based things, he's got persuasion and this and that, because being a good orator, that's definitely a performance. So I figured that was fitting.
I think that would actually be that actually might be the merchant background though.
For being a lawyer, really?
Or not the merchant, the guild
Artisan.
Yeah,
guild artisan, because it also has a merchant optional
or
variant. I could so see that doing that with a barrister as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because it's profession. You know, it's like a profession.
I mean, but also all these things like you really get to swap out like this. Like I can swap out the skills or whatever. So and because he's a half elf, he's got a ton of skills. Like he's got what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 6 skills as like a martial / castery character. So he turned out pretty sweet, and it's something I would definitely play. His other invocation, I took Agonizing Blast. So this way I have a nice range option because it's like high damage dice. I'm getting my charisma to deal damage with that. I split between having a 16 strength and a 16 charisma. So this way, like, he's pretty well ranged. I definitely went to level 6 on the Paladin because that's when you start to get your charisma mod as your saving throw bonus and stuff.
Which is really good.
Yeah, exactly. And the other potential build I would have went, the other route I would have went with this guy, if I went more castery, is friggin' just give him like the minimum strength you need to slap on full plate. Which is what, a 13, a 15, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So and then just bum rush having a 20 charisma, and like my invocations would be just super make them super castery. Maybe take the one
take Devil Sight and be the Paladin that fights from the darkness.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, no, I mean, but that would be if I went the charisma route, hurling spells from afar. Like this guy wants to go run up and mix it up, but if I did the caster route, it's just like, nope, I'm slinging spells from the back.
Yeah, but I so love the Devil Sight combined with darkness. Whether you drop it on them or you drop it on yourself,
well, I mean,
it still gives you total concealment.
And I absolutely could have done that too, still, instead of Agonizing Class, taken Devil's Sight and done that. But yeah, as far as spells, I gave them all like things like Mirror Image, Hellish Rebuke, Arms of Hadar, which is like people hit you, or no, that actually Arms of Hadar is just you get clustered with guys and you just launch a spell that just like hurts everybody around you. So if you're kind of surrounded, it's nice to just drop 3d6 on everybody around you. So but that's the build. So he's super utilitarian as he is now.
Nice, I like it.
I'm really digging it. It's like I think I want to play that character.
Yeah, as do I.
Well, I went with Lump to Exile, and my concept for the character was a sorcerer that is like a tribal nomad that gets exiled when his sorcerer powers start to kind of manifest. They're like, oh, you gotta go. So they're trying to like stone him and stuff. From the fluff in the background. So and then he's off living in the woods by himself, or living actually in the mountains by himself. So he has to learn to live off the land, and he actually becomes a druid. So, but from the crunch and the mechanic aspect, I went with the Draconic Heritage and a Druid of the Land because I wanted him to be a spellcaster.
Okay.
And once I decided to go the Draconic Heritage, I'm like, well, so I don't want something that has access to armor because I thought about doing a cleric because I'm like, well, he's already kind of where he is armor. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what can I do? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go Druid. And by going Druid, especially of the land, Circle of the Land, you just get so much spellcasting ability.
Indeed.
Early on, one of the concepts was to go, all right, I like the sorcerer fluff and I like the sorcerer thematically, but the problem is they don't get enough spells and they kind of suck. So how do I fix this, right? Well, if you take 2 spellcasters
and smash them together,
they get the full amount of spells. I've actually got 4th and 5th level spell slots, but I have no actual spells in them. And as a druid, I was able to get Lightning Bolt as one of my one of the Circle of the Land spells. I mean, I've got 9 cantrips. Wow. I can do damage of like for almost any type with a cantrip. Once I get another level of sorcerer,
you'll get another one.
No. What'll happen is he'll get the ability to add his Draconic Courage energy type as his charisma modifier for damage. So I went Red Dragon with that.
So you can do fire and lightning or something.
Yeah.
I think. What was your level split?
5/5.
Now, why did you choose 5/5 rather than like a 6/4?
Lots of sweet things happen at 6th level. So let's.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to access the 3rd level spells on both of them.
Okay.
That was a key factor. Keeping my level high in Druid actually gave me access to more spells.
Okay.
Because of the Circle of the Land feature. It's kind of like domains from the Cleric.
Right.
Where you automatically add 2 at certain levels. Which one of those 2 was Lightning Bolt.
Lightning Bolt, yeah.
So what I actually gave up was my Charisma modifier on energy type on energy types of whatever I chose. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? It's 3 points extra damage on certain spells.
Or Lightning Bolt.
Or Lightning Bolt, yeah.
And Call Lightning.
And yeah, I took that one as well. Because at first I did think about making it Blue Dragon. But then I was like, you know what? There's only so much lightning stuff. But there is a ton of fire, especially being a druid. When I was filling out the spells, there's just a variety of stuff you get. And that you can do is pretty sick. But then I was going, well, I'm a sorcerer, and I have 5 sorcerer points to use for my level. What I did is I took Twin Spell, and I took Distant. I like Distant. You can make touch attacks and the ranged attacks. Or, I don't know, what is it, 15-foot square on Thunderwave?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it 30.
Nice.
Burning Hands would have worked really nice with that as well, because I believe it's a 10-foot arc, which would have made it a 20-foot arc.
Wait, one distance spell?
Yeah.
Isn't it just you make it a further distance away from you?
It doubles the range of the spell.
The range, not the radius that's affecting. Like
those spells are listing under the range. Is that right? Isn't that how it's listed?
It's so distance spell. It pushes it. Its point of origin further out, but I don't think it encompasses a larger radius.
But those spells on the range, they don't list.
They
point
specifically
of
go from you until the end.
Yeah.
So if you
the
increase
point
the
of
range
origin
of it, you're basically maximizing.
Wow, that's kind of nasty now.
It says self parentheses 15-foot cube.
So I think it would be like now you can do it 10 feet away.
Ranged 15-foot cube.
Yeah, so but even still, that's really good because there's a lot of times that you don't want to get in.
Yeah, you don't want
in
to
their
be
face.
up on that. Thunder wave from about 15 feet away, 10 feet away is good.
Well, 30 feet away.
30 feet away.
Because I think that's what it is. If it's a touch spell, then the range goes to 30 foot.
Okay, so then I would list that as you'd be able to put a 15-foot cube 30 feet away.
Wherever you wanted it. So still, I think that's
utilitarian.
Yeah, and nice. Because one of the problems with Twin Spell, which everyone loves, the problem with Twin Spell is it's got to affect one creature, and it's a sorcerer point for every level of the spell. Yeah, that was great. Now I'm done for the day.
I need a cigarette.
Well, that's the problem with sorcerer. The best thing about their class features with the sorcerer points is you don't get them back for a short rest, right?
And Burning Hands is
Until,
exactly the same as well.
Right. Okay. They saw me coming again.
Well, like we said on our other video, they lawyered the heck out of this.
Yeah.
They've been around the block a little bit.
Yeah.
By fifth.
So
But-
they have more experience at this than we do.
Yeah.
Like they're designing the game by themselves or something. Yeah. That's right.
But not only that, from the druid, natural recovery, which is basically the same thing the wizard gets. So you get spells back after a short rest, which I like that. Wild shape, I figured that is more like a
Utilitarian.
that word kind of feature because you take things with the swim speed, climb speed, you can basically get around. And thematically, I just kind of liked it. Hit points.
What about the thing with the twin spell that was kind of an epiphany to you and me when you were talking about it? Like the idea of using it on things that aren't sorcery spells or
that's
or
just
non-attack.
it. Being able to use my sorcerer points on the druid spells in addition to the sorcerer spells is nice. But then so spells known. Let's look at my first level. I've got things like Cure Wounds, Healing Word.
That you can twin.
So you can double up on your healing.
That's nice.
So you use one sorcerer point and a bonus action and a first level spell slot, and you're healing 2 people from 30 feet away.
Yes. Yeah, and how many? We've had those times where you got more than one person that's dropped.
Yes, I've had to make that call.
Yeah, it's very very stressful.
Now,
Or the third level spell haste, drop it on 2 people at once.
with your font of magic, the flexible casting, you can take, because you're multi-class, you can take levels and sack them for meta magic points, basically the sorcerer's points, right?
Yes.
So
Okay.
you have that availability. I mean, you could twin spell something, and yeah, you just burned all your sorcerer's points.
But that 5th level spell slot that you don't have a spell for,
You could burn
You
that
could-
for
you could
sorcery
burn that
points.
for
yeah,
points.
Absolutely.
Well,
or bump a spell up.
Well, that's true as well. So yeah, so those are definitely not useless.
Oh.
I went human, and I did it for the feats. It's all about the feats.
How many
feats.
how many feats did you wind up taking?
I ended up taking 2. I took observant and resilient. I have a 22 passive perception check
Because of observant.
because of observant, and it also gave me a bump to a mental stat.
Okay.
Which is what I was looking for. And then I took resilient, and I had an odd stat in dexterity that I wanted to bump up, and that gave me. So now I have charisma, constitution, and dexterity as my good saves, as my the
Nice.
saves I'm proficient in. So all in all, I think this would be a fun character to play. I ended up with 5 languages.
Nice.
And you know what? I might even be missing one, to be honest with you.
Well, you get 2 for being human.
You get 2
Common at something else.
Yep.
You get Draconic for being a sorcerer.
Yep. Druidic.
You get Druidic, yeah. And what background did you take?
And Outlander, I got 1. So yeah, I got them all. So 5 languages, and then I got 5 skills. So all in all, I just like the combination because you get to do a lot of stuff, and that's one of the cool things about human as well.
Right.
Is building off of that. So yeah, I would play this character for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a good build.
So now we need like a one shot to give these guys a
Get
chance
them all,
to do some play.
Oh yeah, since I mentioned my feats earlier, I took the heavy armor mastery, so you got the DR3. I took shield mastery because he fights with longsword and axe and shield. For my maneuver, I think it's maneuver, I took protection, so that you can give basically
For your fighting style.
Yeah, fighting style so disadvantage against people, like if someone's getting attacked.
Right. You can interpose yourself essentially.
Yeah.
And make them have
And
disadvantage.
since for 10th, I think I get one at first, and then fighter at 6th level gives me 2.
You get, if you're human, it's one at first, 1 at 4th, 1 at 6th.
Yeah.
And then a cleric at level
I get
4.
at level 4 I get
so.
one. I would have took the stat bump for one of them because I just my stats weren't, because I need I've got the strength, I've got the con, and I've got the wisdom. Kind of wanted to not have too many like 8s. so I kind of it takes time building them up over time. So I took the heavy weapon fighting, heavy armor mastery, shield mastery, and I took sentinel, I believe.
Okay.
So kind of really good at protection in general, and he's got like a 20-some armor class without shield of faith on, so
Very nice.
he's gonna be rocking it.
The shield mastery is pretty nice. It's almost like getting extra proficiencies in saving throws.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yes, and with a bad dex, it's really nice to have that shield proficiency there.
Well, and not only that, you can smack someone in the face with it.
Yeah, it's
A lot-
overall
those
it's
are-
overall good.
If you're using a shield, it's definitely something to put on your radar. This particular character, he went straight greatsword just for sheer slaying power. But I honestly considered dropping the weapon down and picking up a shield.
Yeah.
So his fighting style, he took great weapon fighting and defensive to get the extra plus to armor class. Since he's not using a shield.
Because of low level pluses in 5th edition, I just feel like having an extra high armor class is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if I've played one character with not such a high armor class and been hit so many times, it's like,
Yeah, and if I did the castery iteration of this guy, he would definitely have the shield and not be concerned about dealing
as much damage.
Yeah, like I would have taken the protection for the +1 AC. Yeah, like because he doesn't care, he's not going to hit you. He's going to ping you with things from
Right.
Eldritch Blast from far away. So
Yeah, well, that's one of the things to be said for not being there. where the attacks are happening.
Right.
And with this character, that's kind of what I would have gone with as well. Staying out of harm's way
So
and raining death from afar.
I don't know what your guys' experiences, were through the creation process. Typically before doing this, like my gut reaction on 5th edition is it's trying to persuade you to not multi-class. But here we've made 4 really interesting and unique character options that all seem viable, playable, and make me want to say, make me rethink that perspective. What do you guys?
There's a big benefit to doing single class, and it's evident when you look at the different classes and their bumps as they go up. But they really didn't hamper the multi-class spell casting like it's been done before. So I feel like because you can bump up spells, you can take magic mission and be like, well, I have this 5th level spell slot. I'm gonna really slam somebody with this bumped up 1st level, 2nd level spell, or even like a lightning bolt, like with your guy going from a 3rd to a 5th level slot. So I see that as they didn't really do it as bad or as hard to the casters as in previous editions for multi-classing. So if you want to be a spellcaster guy and you want 2 sets of spells, like druid sorcerer or
caster is kind of awesome actually.
Yeah,
it's really when
wizard
you
cleric.
veer off of that you get kind of boned really.
Wizard cleric, you've got the variety and the real power things like dealing damage that's bumpable, spell levels, and healing that's bumped up. You can bump up high. You don't really lose an advantage in that sense, except you don't get those higher level spell slots.
Well, I mean, if you really
power wise, you don't get the spell access.
When you really want to be nasty about it, you do think 2 classes that have the same power stat, so you just worry about having that high
Druid
stat.
cleric.
Yeah, well,
Druid cleric,
Druid cleric or sorcerer warlock or something like that. Like things like or bard or whatever. But like
sorcerer,
bard with like
with anything.
Yeah, school of lore, is it?
Yeah,
College of Lore, because you get all this casting, then you get the sorcerer meta magic points to start to spend on things.
That'd be a good
and you have
combo.
the versatility of any spell you could possibly want as being a bard. So,
well, going the other way, the College of Valor isn't horrible. I mean, you can slather on medium armor and a shield as well.
Yeah. And you get the spell level still.
Yeah, you get the casting, but you really get the expanded casting on the College of
Well, I mean, you've got the whole other class to expand your spell capacity, so... Sorcerer Bard. Sorcerer Bard with the College of Valor, I think that would be a really good, you get fighter for free, kind of.
I just feel like the multi-classing isn't as obvious with things. Like the whole the idea of this rechargeable smite, I really had to put that together and think about it.
It's definitely a fantastic concept. I really like it.
Yeah. So
so if you needle through the book and find those things that mesh and work well together, I think you can make some really fantastic character options.
I think, well, for my build, a couple more levels and there's some really fun options like Spell Sniper, because I need more cantrips. I don't have enough as it is, and and just automatically doubling the range in your spells is pretty sweet. Or Elemental Adept and going, you know what? Yeah, I know you're a red dragon, but I'm going to set you on fire anyway. And it's still
I
gonna
don't care.
So there's definitely cool things to be done with
Actually, how is that going to have to hurt the ego of the red dragon? Man, I'm supposed to be immune to this shit, and he's infuegoing me. What the fuck?
Well, in 5th edition, I don't think they're immune anymore. I think they should just have resistance.
Yeah. But that's just going to hurt your self-esteem.
It's got to hurt the pride, and dragons don't like their prides being hurt.
Yeah, so he's going to want to kill you even deader when he catches up to you. That's right.
So the hardest thing about multi-class in this edition, it requires a lot more thought than previous editions.
Yes.
You have to plan it. You have to think about it. You're going to need more stats. I mean, for this character, I went with a point buy, which wasn't very far off from the point array.
Yeah, I did already keep it simple. Yeah.
As it was, so I ended up with, I dumped strength with an 8, and then I went 14, 14, 10, 16, 16. To, in order to kind of get everything that I wanted. He sucks at making strength saving throws and is not going to be very good at all.
Just turn into an animal. Turn into a bear.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I figured.
I took an 8, because I used the stat array. He wound up with 18, 8, 14, 10, 12, 17. So, yeah, it's a pretty decent, fighter paladin in my opinion.
Yeah,
I actually, of my three stat bumps, I actually took one of them as the stat bump, as opposed to because I didn't want to have a 12 con.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's not having the low con is it's pretty harsh.
But that being said, there were some really fun things I could have did with another feat as well.
That's a hard trade-off. Yeah, at least you're a human, so you're guaranteed. Because being the half elf, I only had the 2 feats. I'm like, well, this guy is going to smack things in the face really hard. So I mean, all my feats are in that direction.
Yeah. So if I wanted to go 12 con, I could have took Elemental Adept, or I could have took Spell Sniper. Yeah, or for some more ridiculousness, I could have just took another took a Magic Initiate.
Get more casting.
Throw it in Cleric.
Yeah. That's great.
I wonder how that would work with casting that one spell a day.
It doesn't give you a spell slot. It allows you to cast that spell once a day.
But can you put sorcerer points on that?
Why not?
Well, that's what I mean. So
I think you could spend the points. I don't think there's anything that would stop you.
Yeah,
or sacking it out.
And sack it for spell points.
Oh, you absolutely could.
Because usually it says you have to expend a spell slot.
Oh, is
that just allows you to cast a spell once.
Yeah,
a
not
day.
a.
It does not give you a first level spell slot. The wording on that is clear. I've looked that up for a couple.
Again,
of
so you can't stack your magic.
How can I rape this 9 ways to Tuesday?
Yeah. Oh, you pick something super utilitarian though, like a cure light wounds. Like, when in the day am I not going to have to heal people?
Yeah.
So.
Or pick something that's not bumpable, so that it's fine that it's first level because it doesn't need to change.
Yeah.
So I think we're covered here on the multi-class.
Yeah. So hopefully Exile 72. We covered your multi-class for you. Anyone else has suggestions? Feel free to
put them in the comments below.
Yeah. While you're liking, subscribing, and sharing.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
Or on the Nerdarchy Facebook group.
Or you can join the conversation on our subreddit, Nerdarchy, How to Stay Nerdy.
That's very NPR, joining the conversation.
Yeah.
So until next time, my friends,
stay nerdy.